Hey guys, it's Todd. Welcome to the Do Different podcast. Got a fantastic guest today. This is George Cordoba, and yeah, George, man, when we first started talking, I was just not fascinated, but like very intrigued by kind of your story. So I don't want to do it in injustice and kind of speak third party to it. So for those of you that are out there listening, this is George, and I'll let him kind of take it from here and tell him a little bit about what he's got going on. So over to you, George.
All right. Thank you, Todd, and thank you for having me in your show. Yeah, my name is George Cordoba, and I'm actually an advanced cancer survivor. Um, at the time that I got sick, I was in the technology space. I was a chief technology officer, and but I got inflicted with advanced cancer 3 weeks after my mother passed from cancer. And it's interesting because on my Greek side of the family, my mother's side, since I was 4 or 5 years old, I seen relatives passing from cancer. My grandfather, then his two brothers, then my grandmother's sisters, both of them, and this is with cancer. And along the time, the years, then my godfather, which was my mother's cousin, then my uncle, my mother's brother, and then 3 weeks before I was diagnosed, my mother passed of cancer as well. So when I looked at my family landscape from the Greek side, I really, believed I was doomed, that sooner or later I would be the next one or my sister. And lo and behold, that's what happened. I was diagnosed with it was at that time it was stage 3 melanoma, and but it progressed, and the whole story, to make it short in there, it was 10 years. I fought the disease for 10 years, and I had 10 surgeries, including 4 brain surgeries because it metastasized to my brain, and then 2 gamma knives as well in my brain. However, 2 of the 8 tumors we could not really, the basically the doctors could not really get rid of in my back lobe. They were not operable, so we had to really just keep checking them with the scans and stuff. But in those 10 years, on year 8, when I had my first craniotomy, they gave me this capsule that supposedly was Temodar. It was the first time they found a chemo, that would penetrate the brain. The brain is very, very protective for, stuff that is not good for it. So, but this penetrated the brain. The whole thing, by the way, those capsules it was oral chemo, but each capsule was $1,000. So imagine, and I was already on year 8. So forget about what we accumulated through my wife and I, both in the as professionals, were doing very well, and but we had to start with 5 children, young children at a time. We had to start tapping into college funds, 401ks, IRAs, and when you go in for 10 years. By the time it's 8 years, it was like a financial tsunami. Needless to say, it really affected my professional life as well. I started losing some folks. I had to take leave of absence, and so it was really not a good experience. Everything was looking good in my life, and all of a sudden, I get hit with this. And obviously, as many of you have seen the movie or documentary, The Secret, I always feared this disease, and it finally did get me. But I have to share that I'm an athlete. I play tennis, NCAA Division I tennis, and growing up, I had great coaches helping us with mental rehearsing. We did some nutritional stuff, and so I have tennis is really this one sport that, you either win or lose. Somebody kicks your butt or you kick the other guy's butt. No tie, no team loss or team won. So that makes you different as you grow up. You have a different mindset in terms of competition. And so, about 4 weeks after I was diagnosed, and I went through all the emotional roller coaster, and this is not possible. I want another opinion, another biopsy. Nobody wants to hear that they have been diagnosed with cancer. But after that, I kind of sat down and I said, you know what? I'm going to be the first. I'm going to beat the odds, and I'm going to be the first family member on the Greek side of my being that survives this thing. And I went on my journey, like everyone else, because the mind, one of the rules of the mind is that we go to what is familiar. And in the West, what is familiar is just running, almost running to an oncologist, and without even thinking that there might be other options out there. I was one of those. But on year 8, after this first craniotomy, and I was taking these pills that I mentioned, it was one pill a day from Monday through Friday, take a break for a week, and then again. On the second Monday that I took this capsule, I really felt that I was off the roof, walking. I mean, I was just so tight and feeling bad, and so I just said, you know what, this is killing me. This is enough. I sat down. I really took a couple deep breaths. I remember this like if it was yesterday. I was alone at the house. My wife was working, the only income at that point. We had to really reduce our lifestyle, by the way, considerably with 5 kids, seven mouths to feed at home. But at the end of the day, I just started to meditate and pray about, making a decision to just stop the conventional treatment. It was not working for me. It was 8 years of surgery, treatment, quote unquote remission, recurrence, surgery. Thank God for the surgeries, because if not, I would not be talking to you, Todd. But I got tired of that, and I'm a person of faith. I knew that this was not working for me. I had some conversations with an excellent oncologist. I was really lucky to land in his hands, but I made the decision, and I have some doctors in the family, one surgeon and then 2 other doctors, and they thought I was crazy. They said, no, just keep going with what you're doing. And I kept saying, look, it's been 8 years, man, 8 years going through this stuff. It's not working for me. So I'm going natural. I'm just going to go the holistic route. And so I made that decision. I convinced my wife, which at the time was also in the medical world as an ultrasound tech for obstetrics. And against everybody, I just said, you know what? I'm stopping this. I took a leap of faith. I talked to my doctor. I said, look, I'm stopping this stuff. He says, are you sure, George? I said, yes, doctor. But I would appreciate if you continue to do follow-ups on me. And he agreed. He says, okay, I'll do that. And if you ever want to come back, maybe there's something new out there that we could try. So I started my holistic journey to heal. And here I am. 12 years later, this past July was my 12th year free of cancer. And but before, right then, actually 2 years after that, which was 2017, I decided as well to transition from being a CTO to come into the health and wellness world. And for the last 7 years, and I did this at the age of 57, which again, people were thinking, you're crazy, you're comfortable as a CTO, what are you doing? And I have to say, guys, and this is very important to share, many people live their life 85 times, that same year 85 times, without finding why they're here, what is their purpose. And for me, it took a 10-year battle with cancer, advanced cancer, 2 tumors that were not operable. And like I said, I'm a person of faith, and If you get a chance to read my best-selling book, I explain how they disappear. It is just miraculous, but if you believe, if you open yourself up to miracles, you will receive it. See what happens, people, somewhere inside, they believe they're not worth receiving. That's why it's much easier to give than to receive. But all this stuff I started to learn and by searching the moment that I decided to jump ship and go the natural route. So, but I did make a decision to also jump into the health and wellness world. At that time I did it, I was already certified as a functional nutritionist, a Reiki master, and I was doing my health coach. I was actually always open with the company I was working for, saying, look, I'm gonna go for 6 more months and then I'm gonna jump. But in that time, a year before that, I was still actually just started to be, let's say, free of cancer. I started to be a health and life coach. Then I did a mastery, holistic health mastery of transformation, which is all about changing beliefs and changing habits. And so by the time I jumped ship, I was already a health and life coach. I had my mastery on holistic health and transformation, and I was a nutritionist. So I began to look for people that were inflicted with cancer. So really my initial niche was working with people that are dealing with cancer or the threat of it, the threat of recurrence. And we could talk about that, how this recurrences, why they happen. But anyway, I did that to help them transform their health and vitality so they could live their best lives and with purpose. And which when I'm working with a client, I typically ask them that. In the beginning, obviously, we'll look at if we're a fit, because this is not a magic wand. I tell my clients, look, we're gonna work for 3 months, but it's work. After every session, 1 session a week, you're gonna have some homework, action guides to work on. And the reason we do that in this protocol is so we can start changing habits. Then I became a hypnotherapist a year and a half ago. So I added that to my program, which is awesome because all disease, by the way, is emotional. I found this out through different venues that I talk. I meet MDs that now are holistic MDs. They were sick and they found other alternatives to heal. They were on year 4 and hey, nothing is happening. So overall, this thing, when I look back at those 10 years that were, like I say, a emotional tsunami, financial tsunami, my kids, the trauma of losing their grandma, now dad is sick with the same disease. It was something that I don't wish to anyone. But for me, when I look back now, it was a blessing. Surviving this thing gave me the chance. God gave me the chance to sing the song I was born to sing, which is helping others. In our days, I still, obviously, with referrals, I get folks that are dealing with cancer, but due to the state of health, especially here in the United States with us, I'm starting to do group coaching for prevention. I have to share this forget COVID and pandemic. The year and a half of COVID, taking 5 million lives, I believe. In 2020, 10 million people died of cancer. And today it is estimated that 1 of 2 men will have cancer in their lifetime, and 1 of 3 women will have cancer in their lifetime. Almost 48% of adults in the US have 1 or 2 chronic diseases. The question is why? All disease is emotional, and all chronic disease, cancer included, and this is something worth knowing because I'm going to share something with you. Plus, by the way, I have a giveaway that you're really going to enjoy. It's very helpful. But also, all chronic disease, without exception, starts in a body that is inflamed. You know, it's very acidic. The tissues are inflamed. And how did that happen? That's really a question that obviously we deal with through my program, but we need to work on balancing that acidity, go back to a balanced pH, which I have an ebook in this giveaway that explains exactly what to do. Because guess what? Disease cannot grow on a balanced pH body. And if you continue, if you learn how to balance your pH, in other words, take the acidity out of your system, and not being too alkaline, because like on a pool, if you put too much chlorine in your pool, it's very tough to go in there. It will damage your skin, your eyes. If you swallow, I mean, this is really dangerous. But on the other hand, if you don't put enough chlorine, it turns green, and there's bacteria and stuff that is not good for us either. So the secret is to have a balanced pH like water. Water is a substance that is pH balanced. So if you have a pH balance, this is the first thing I learned when I jumped ship and I went natural. I went to a naturopath, and he explained me this stuff. It was like music to my ears. You know, it's just, man, this makes sense. And he says, you are sick now. Look at this scan. He did a non invasive scan with cables in my hands, in my feet, in my head, in my heart, and I could see on the screen. I could see myself inside, and it was like light all over the place. That was acidity in my body. Obviously, I was 7 years in chemo, which is the most acidic thing. It's venom, really. They're trying to heal you with venom. And so he says, look, disease cannot grow on a pH balance. So we're going to balance your pH. We're going to do a detox for 21 days, take a break, and do another scan, which that was amazing, the difference. And then another 21 days. But he says, the moment that you have a balanced pH, you are destructing. You're really diminishing the environment. That acidic environment is gone little by little, and that's where disease thrives. So once you get to a pH balance, you're healed. And if you are in a pH balance, you will never get sick again. So these tips work for people that are sick, but also, like I said, prevention, man. We really have to avoid being these stats that I just shared with you guys. And if we don't do anything, for example, right now, 66% of the US is overweight, and 33% of those 66% are obese. And again, the prognosis is that if we don't make any changes by 2030, which is around the corner, half of our nation will be obese. Half of US adults will be obese. Now, talk about healthcare. That's why we lost so many people in COVID, because we're not a healthy nation. And guess what? The pharma industry, the biggest investment is the food industry, and vice versa. You know, that tells you something. You know, it's almost like they want us to be sick. There's such a huge business, particularly with cancer. You know, all this stuff. And we have to say and agree, I guess everybody would agree, that doctors really are, you know, drug dealers with a license. That's why they just tell them, hey, you do this, you sell this one instead of this one, you get a commission. This is this chemo. And so I created without going on a tangent, a questionnaire. Well, actually, I adjusted it. I got it from another survivor, to ask your oncologist these questions. He's your employee. He's not God. We believe that they're going to go, and that's the only way that we can heal. They're not the healers. They only know how to apply, you know, certain things, which is radiotherapy and chemotherapy. But guess what? If you ask a doctor, this medicine that you're going to give me, can I meet somebody that is being 5 years in remission, 5 years free of cancer? do you have anybody like that? How about 10 years? Things like that. And is it true, doctor, that you get your chemo at wholesale and you mark it up to the insurance company or the client? Ask them these questions and see what they answer. And then you start kind of wondering to say, well, you know, am I in the right place? Because again, the thing is, and good news is that there's 12 rules of the mind. So we could offset this one. But this one is very powerful. In 7 years, 7.5 years that I've been holistic health coach, only four of my clients from October 2017 to now have decided to do the same thing, to go 100% natural. However, if you go to my site, I have to add more, but there's plenty of success stories there of folks that continue to do the stuff, but within 3 months they're starting to come out clean in their scans, and they're thinking, doctors cannot believe it. So, well, I'm going to reduce it. Or hey, we can. That's it. Let's stop the treatment and see what happens. They cannot understand it, and they say, well, doctor, I'm doing this and this and this and this. You see, holistic health, my friends. I have this metaphor that I share with my clients. We are a physical self, an emotional self, a mental self, and a spiritual self. Soul-wise, we're all the same and we're connected. But that's another story. I'm not going to do, like they say, teaching, but I do have this metaphor of the four legs of a table. One of the legs is your physical body, the other one is your emotional, the other one is your mental, and the fourth one is your spiritual self. If one of those legs is missing, you can't eat on that table. It cannot stand. If two are missing, that's already impossible. So what I find in many cases, in my case, I had a couple of one of the legs, particularly the emotional, it was pretty broken, and so, but I found all these things based on really faith and the certainty that I was gonna survive. So I began to see my cancer as my toughest tennis opponent. I just studied it like I studied any other opponent. Just got in there. I have, like I say, I have family doctors, so we could go into the New England Medicine Journal of Medicine, and we could see some things in there from the scientific side. But I kept reading a lot, and just found this thing and decided to go natural. And it was a little, I was anxious with that decision, but I was completely convinced that it was not working for me. 8 years in that loop, like that I said, surgery, treatment, remission, recurrence. And then at the end of the day, I found out why we continue to have recurrences. And then if you want, we can talk a little bit. But the reason that we have recurrences is because with chemo and traditional stuff, they're not even worried about how and where is the root cause of this in George or in Todd or in whoever is sick. And it's typically emotional. Like I said, this is based on a lot of reading, going to different, seminars and stuff like that, and then meeting people when I'm doing events that are, in the same boat, let's say. And, in my case, I stopped having recurrences when I realized that I had a lot of emotional clutter since I was little, but particularly in the area of forgiveness. And like my third book, because I'm finishing my second book, it's going to be titled Stop and Smell the Roses. People just don't have time to enjoy, let's say, nature and stuff. But the third one is the healing power of forgiveness, or forgiveness is healing. either one. I'm just struggling with still with the title. In my case, the moment that I realized that I had to forgive people, and I did that, and then ask for forgiveness because I'm just a human being and made mistakes. And then the toughest one, forgiving myself. But I worked on that, and guys, I never had another recurrence. Never. And so, and as I was going through, year 9, year 10, the disease kept coming. I had 2 more surgeries in my glute area, imagine. And that was it. They wanted to do some radiotherapy that was via catheters. I accepted that one because it was just a tube going to where they did they removed the tumors. And so I accepted it. It didn't really do anything in my outside, my skin. That was the last time I had, and I had already been a couple of years without any of that. But I accepted that. The last one, they asked me, it was so little, I said, no, I don't need radiotherapy. And that was it. And that was in 2012. And like I say, today, I'm actually living my purpose. I'm so, for me, this is not work. It's a calling. I just want to be, I am an advocate of prevention now as well, because why waiting for you to get sick so I can work with you? It might as well just help you not being one of those statistics that I told you. And it's simple. It's not easy. And that's why you need a little bit of a method and accountability for a while. And then you're on your own. You got the you got the drift, and you can do it. One thing that I really encourage everybody is to, for a second, just think about this. Your time is not renewable, man. It's just yesterday's gone, and after this meeting is done as well. So take time for yourself. Nobody's putting a gun on your head to say, hey, you got to do this, you got to do this, you got to, if you don't do this, most likely you have a short life. That's why we have stress. That's why we create acidity in our bodies. Not only the emotional clutter, by the way, creates serotonin and cortisol, and that maybe you're watching a movie or you listen to a song and you remember something that wasn't so, let's say, so nice. You produce cortisol there. You produce cortisol when you're stressed, and you're trying to go and eat so fast because you have to do errands and stuff. All that, as a nutritionist, I tell you, does not work. What you're doing is you're disrupting your digestion. In the US, by the way, and this is all tied together. Americans, my friends, we, in the average, chew 6 times before they swallow. When in reality, we need to chew, depending on the food, 20 or 30 times. Which, by the way, by doing that, you enjoy more of the flavors and stuff. But if you don't chew enough times, see, digestion starts in your mouth. You start chewing and your saliva enzymes start processing the food. It is designed, this divine design was made so that when we swallow, we send to the stomach, to our gut, we send processed food. But we're chewing only 6 times. What we send in there is an unprocessed bomb. And then the stomach, imagine if you do that 3 times a day. Sooner or later, you're going to be sick, because you're inflaming your body by doing that. The stomach does not know what to do, so it sends everything to fat, to the sides. For women, it's more, the butt and the thighs. For men, is our stomach. You see people, even thin people with the nice little heavy, little stomach there. And so, but what happens too is that because we did that, our nutrients, the necessary nutrients to really go through the pancreas and the liver, and then ultimately in our bloodstream, in going to the immune system, that didn't happen. It happened only 10% of what it should happen. So guess what? In half hour, you're hungry again. And there is a loop. And then you still, do the same thing. Eventually, you're gonna get sick. That is an amazing little tip there. Slow down, try to measure yourself and see that instead of eating in 10 minutes, try to pump it up to 15 minutes. Nobody's asking you to be in a hurry. So slow down. It is said, rest and digest. So again, there's so many components, but holistically speaking, everything is tied together. If you are in a hurry, if you just had an argument with somebody on the street, or you're stressed out in traffic, or whatever it is that got you anxious and stressed out, you're producing cortisol, and then there's a nerve. It's called the vagus nerve that goes from your brain to your gut. That nerve takes signs from two branches of your nervous system. One is rest and digest. The other one is, hey, George is stressed out, man. We can't have a good digestion. But on top of that, because I'm stressed out, I eat fast and swallow fast. Man, I'm really disrupting this beautiful machine process that we have. And as I've said, all disease starts in the gut. And one last thing that I want to share, it's an interesting point, but it really makes sense. Let's say you're having an amazing, nice, healthy lunch, and we'll talk about nutrition-wise what really all that means. But you're having your lunch and in the park, and all of a sudden you see this bear running towards you. You know that his intentions is to attack you. So you have two chances: fight this guy or flight. At that time, when you decide to flight, you start producing naturally adrenaline and serotonin and cortisol to get out of there. But what happens to your digestion? It freezes, it's gone, because the system cannot do digestion and you running. So that lunch was just worthless. Guess what? Our nervous system does not know if it's a bear or if you're just stressed out because you were in traffic or you have an argument with your partner or whatever got you stressed out. So it does the same thing. Wow. For the nervous system is, George's is stressed out. So, this is not going to work well. So one tip, my friends, is first of all, slow down when you eat. Drop your fork. I have a bunch of stuff that I'm giving you guys as a giveaway. You're going to have to really download it from my drive, my Google Drive. But it's very practical. And if you take action on that, you already on your way to, if you're ill, on your way to illness, to heal, get your health back. And if you're not, you're going to prevent being that statistic just with that little bit. Obviously, if you are able to create a roadmap to say, I'll go like this for the first month, the second month, the third month, the fourth month, I have clients that want to continue to go because they're still feeling, man, I see the difference, but I'm not quite ready to just be thrown there alone. So, but it is possible. Healing, my friends, happens from the inside out. In my book, if you allow me, Todd, I explain what I did in the holistic journey in terms of my emotions, in terms of the spiritual side. By the way, one thing that many people do not understand is the power of helping others without an agenda, the power of service. I have to share this. I have this friend that at one point he was making a little over $100,000 a month, $100,000 a month, and he knew I was doing this stuff. He came to my my book, one of my book presentations, basically, and he stopped me. He says, George, I need to talk to you, man. I have this void. You're talking about a guy that has, an amazing apartment in Key Biscayne, Florida, then if you could, I'm not going to say the areas, but, several properties, a yacht, traveling, and he feels that there's a void in his life. And I asked him, I said, well, do you help others? Do you, well, I send a check to this organization and then, no, but do you just personally go and are you into anything that it requires you to be present? He goes, oh no, there it is. That's your void. Because we're designed to help. It doesn't matter. Like I said, I'm a people of faith, but all the avatars have something in common. They said it's about service to others. And I read this book, Back to the Basics, and this guy who helps the kids that live on the streets of Bogota, which is the capital of Colombia, that guy says, if you want to feel the love of God, you need to descend to the hearts of those whom you help. And guess what? When you do that, you wonder. You say, who was helped here? Was I was helping Todd, but I feel like so complete.
Hmm.
And that's really what is and that is healing. I was sick, my friends, and I really made sure that I would go out there and help other people with cancer. I joined the American Cancer Society and spearheaded a place, a program in Miami, Florida. I don't live there anymore. I live in New Mexico, where I came to school. But that was called the Road to Recovery. So they have a database, volunteers who give their address, and uh, and guess what? Wherever you live, there's within blocks there's somebody with cancer, my friends. If it's not a family member or a friend, so it was a wonderful program because you would go to take a route to work, and within that route would be somebody with cancer, and then within that route there's a hospital that they go. So you drop them off for the treatment. Life goes on, and family members may not have a way to give you a ride to the hospital for your treatment. I mean, that's another story, but all of a sudden, when you're sick, that's why you need to avoid it. You have another routine in your life.
Yep.
You're a CTO, and now you're wondering, when I gotta do biopsies, treatment, this, feeling like crap. I have to take a day off. I'm vomiting, or I'm at work and I have to close the door in my office and go under just take the stock and vomit. It's just not, it's not really, it is tough.
Yeah. Yeah. So we're about out of time, but George, thank you so much for coming on.